Welcome back, guys, to Couch Coaches. Gully, Bully. Got a couple things to talk about this weekend. It's been a little bit, my friend, and Super Bowl Sunday is just upon us. And some coaching changes has happened. Some things happened in the NFL. We got to get to it, man.
We do.
What do you got for us?
Let's
go.
From the hip. All right. So Super Bowl 60 this Sunday. Seahawks versus our good friends, the Patriots, who are in the 2000s, are no stranger to the Super Bowl. So Vegas says Seahawks are 4.5 favorites over the Patriots. Any thoughts on that?
I don't agree. Now, history aside, never been a Patriots fan. This has nothing to do with that. Years, I should say years ago. Last year, we talked about ranking quarterbacks from the 24 draft. And I believe I misspoken about Drake May. I actually had Joe Milton above Drake May.
Who?
Yeah. So I will concede to that mistake. Drake May has looked mighty fine this year, my friend, and gotten himself to the Super Bowl. But that being said, I do like how Seattle is set up more as a complete team. Their schedule, I feel like they've beaten better opponents. They just look better, in my opinion. Just the eye test. Not saying that winning, not the way that New England has been fancy. If it was my team, I'd still be, there'd be wins or wins. You know what I'm saying? Right. But Seattle, to me, just looks good on all three aspects of the ball, including special teams. To me, they look the part on everything. I don't know if I can go against on how they played throughout the playoffs and how they played throughout running down the stretch, being a 14-3 team when they were. I know New England has a same or similar record, but Seattle just looks like they have it. And also coming from Minnesota, I am cheering for Darnold as well.
Right.
But offhand, there are some statistics that we need to know about Super Bowl starting quarterbacks. And
this is true.
And this is, if your initials are DM, you are 0-2 in the Super Bowl as a starting quarterback. All right. So
Patriots are doomed.
I think that just speaks for itself. If you have the same letter in your first name and last name, ending in the same letter in your first name and last name, they are 0-6. Drake May both end in E. 0-6 in starting Super Bowls. So I just,
you just blew all my analysis out of the water.
I don't know if Vegas ever looked at these numbers, but it's hands down cut and dry here, my guy. But no, I think Seattle's going to win. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm not as hyped for it in past Super Bowls, but I am looking forward to it. The 24 draft, seeing Bo Nix get his team just about there, and unfortunately he had the injury. Drake May, Caleb Williams got his team just about there. So we've seen that draft class look really good, and it is kind of exciting to see. So Sam Darnold has done a phenomenal job with his new team. Very happy for him. I do think that Seattle can pull this one off, but it is going to be a defensive battle. I'm going to say 21-17 Seattle.
Interesting. Okay. So before I give you my prediction, going to run through some of my numbers here. So, yes, you're right about the Patriots having a very weak schedule. It's technically the weakest schedule in the last 50 years. The opponents combined for a record of 113 to 176. So a 391 winning percentage for their opponents.
That's abysmal.
Versus Seahawks, which is a 141 to 147, and 1 for a 489 percentage. So, I mean, still both below 500, but still, it's vastly in the New England Patriots' favor as far as the easier schedule. Um, so the Seahawks, when it comes to the offense, they're rated 8th in the league in passing. The Patriots are 9th in the league versus the pass. So the way I'm looking at this is I think it's pretty well matched, right? Now, Seahawks are the 10th in the league in rushing offense, but the Patriots are 6th in the league in rushing defense. So then there again, now we're also talking, strength of schedule plays into effect as a factor as like how well they're ranked.
Yeah.
But I still think you got a good matchup there. Then if you take a look at the Patriots are 4th in the league in passing offense. Seahawks are 10th in the league versus the pass. So there again, I mean, they're very strong, I think. I think they're very similar based upon if you take their strength of schedule into effect. You got Patriots are the 6th in the league in rushing offense. Seahawks are 3rd best. Now, this is where I think that could be the catalyst in the game for the Seahawks possibly winning this one, right? Seahawks have had a stronger schedule, right? And they're ranked 3rd in the league in defense. Patriots have a much easier schedule, and they're still 6th. So I think this could be the area that you could probably say this might be where the Seahawks are going to possibly win this game. However, I will say, when it comes to rushing, the Seahawks are also without I wouldn't say their backup running back, but
Zach Charbonnet he's been out. Yeah,
Charbonnet is also out. So
But Ken,
talking about these numbers,
but Ken Walker has looked good. Ken Walker has looked pretty good in the playoffs so far. So
yes, I mean Ken Walker, just in general as a running back, he's always put up some good numbers. But I am personally going to root for the Patriots here.
Ooh.
Only, you know what? Only because I really think that Drake May is a special quarterback. We don't know that once Sam Darnold gets in there, like when he was with Minnesota last year, and he's going to start seeing ghosts. That's my thing is right now when it comes to quarterback play, I think that's the biggest question mark on this game. I think if Drake May does not either quarterback, right? If either quarterback does not recede as far as their skill level, then it's going to come down to probably then the rushing game.
Right, because you're looking at two quarterbacks that was their first championship game. This is their first Super Bowl appearance. Mm-hmm. The only small difference you can attribute this to is Sam Darnold has a couple of years of experience in the NFL over May and had that
Correct.
1 year under Minnesota. Now, we had talked about this and we've talked about this offline with friends as well, that if J.J. McCarthy was in the same position of Sam Darnold and he fumbled that bad, not literally, but fumbled that bad in the playoffs, would you give him the pass? People say, well, yeah, he's young. Well, why wouldn't you have done that with Sam Darnold? Because that was his first playoff opportunity. Now we saw what happens now that you've given him the true opportunity to make a run through the playoffs. So he's making the best of it. Now with Drake May, he hasn't had that failure yet in a big game in the playoffs. And so we don't know how his mindset is right now. He is still succeeding. I do believe, honestly, though, if Bo Nix was in that game against Denver, that game would have went 180 difference. I think we might be seeing Denver. But, neither here nor there. They won now. You can't look at the what ifs anymore. But that's it. That was a big change to go against a backup quarterback to go to the Super Bowl.
Gotcha. So I mean, either way, I agree with your original analysis that I think this is going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a super exciting Super Bowl, which is fantastic. That's what I want.
Yeah.
When I want to watch the Super Bowl, I don't want to see a 45-3 game.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Agreed.
And I think this is going to be a really good Super Bowl. I really do. Even if it turns out to be a defensive battle, and even if it turned out to be something like a 10-7 game, if you can't appreciate a 10-7 game, you're really not an NFL fan.
Right. Yep.
That's all I got to say. But I think this is going to be a really good game. And yes, I personally I'll take the Patriots. I know you want Seahawks, but I also have, Sam Darnold pulls on my heartstrings as well. So before he even came to the Vikings, I actually had wanted the Vikings to get Sam Darnold before he even went to Carolina. Right? As soon as the Jets were basically done with him, I was hoping that the Vikes were going to bring him in. But, it didn't happen. But then when it did happen, it was pretty magical up until the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah.
So, anyways, that's my take on it. I think Pats win. I think it's going to be 31-27.
Oh, a little more high scoring than we think. Yeah. Okay. Yep. But a good game nonetheless is what we both expect. And in years past, knock on wood, there haven't been too many blowouts overall. I think that the tenseness, the tension of a Super Bowl itself creates the game to be close. The more or less the two best teams, right? I mean, they were one of the best in the AFC, one of the best in the NFC. Should be a good game.
Yep, I think so.
Let's revisit something that you mentioned about, the Vikings and making changes of Sam Darnold. They, as most people probably have been aware of, the Vikings got rid of their GM, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. How will this impact them?
Nice pronunciation, by the way.
Thank you. I practiced for a couple hours in front of the mirror. Yeah. How will this affect the Vikings going forward, and what do you think is going to happen with the Vikings organization? Not let alone we know that they have a plan in place for the draft, which is a few months away. Do you think they might hire a GM beforehand, take their time? What's their plan of maybe quarterback play? Just kind of what were your thoughts on when you got the news yourself?
So I when I got the news, I was actually very surprised at it. But once I thought about it, I really thought that it made sense from the fact that we were a 14-3 team last year with Sam Darnold, and we let him go for an unproven quarterback. And on top of that, we traded away our backup quarterback 2 weeks before the season and signed Carson Wentz.
That we traded for. We traded for that quarterback that we traded away, by the way.
Oh yeah, Sam
Yeah,
Howell.
Sam L.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. We traded for him and then
And
traded him
then
away. Yep.
yep. And then Carson Wentz only having literally probably 28 days underneath his belt before gets thrust into the starting quarterback position.
Yeah.
Not ideal, right? So I personally think that those two mistakes in itself are what cost him the job. Now I know. Mark Wolf came out and said that it was the totality of his tenure. Yeah, he had some misses, but he also had some pretty good hits. I think this decision that happened in this off season was what he kind of dug his grave, so to speak.
Okay. So
your thoughts?
Well, I'm kind of with you on that. There was some not as much transparency as I would have liked to have seen. We saw Quezzy get an extension just last year, but then he says it was the totality of what happened. Well, if that was the case, why did you extend him? Was this based on Sam Darnold's success? Was there talks behind the scene that we don't know that was based on the vision going forward from this point on that the team doesn't agree with? We're not entirely sure. We just have to go with, the small facts in front of us is that they need a new GM now. And Rob something or another, his name is, the guy behind the scenes is going to take over until draft day. Do you think that we're going to get a new GM before the draft, and should they? Because if you're going to make some moves, I feel like you don't want to draft and then get a GM saying, okay, well, now give him a plate full of food and decide, okay, well, do you like this or not? Versus bring in a guy early. You don't have to rush to make a decision, but you have a few months. But to bring in a guy and then let him decide on the draft to make trades or what have you to improve the team. I feel like it would be doing a disservice to bring in a GM after the draft. I mean, that's why you bring in a GM.
Yeah, so from what I've read, right, I'm no expert on, front office of the NFL, but from what I've read is that, yeah, we are going to wait until after the draft for the Vikings to get another general manager. Okay. I'm assuming that's fine. I mean, I know there's a lot of, a lot of execs in the league that, could probably fill in like right now, right, and do the job. But I also have read that I think they're going to give Kevin O'Connell more leeway as far as personnel decisions. And so I think that they're going to give him and this interim GM a chance to essentially fall on the sword, if you will.
Okay.
So it's going to be this draft, I think, is going to dictate how the Vikes go for a year or two, right? I mean, depending on if it's horrible or bad,
yeah.
Right? And I think if it turns out well, I think the GM that they choose will be somebody who maybe is less involved in, say, the personnel decisions and more of a numbers guy for the salary cap, right? To try to keep us copacetic and let KOC kind of be a mini Belichick, and he can kind of control the personnel that he wants.
Okay.
But that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, they got some work ahead of them, and obviously the world knows that the quarterback is probably the biggest issue of concern for the Vikings. They Obviously,
And here's
obviously,
the
just
sad thing.
this is well. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
The saddest thing about that is the fact that we had Darnold and we also had Daniel Jones.
Yep.
We could have in the off season. If we didn't want to pay the Darnold price tag, we could have got the Daniel Jones price tag,
Yep.
and through up until he ruptured his Achilles, the Colts were in first place.
Not only that, there's also talk that Kwesi was not for getting Aaron Rodgers, and Kevin O'Connell was, so that was another quarterback. We had the opportunity to draft Bo Nix, but we ended up drafting JJ McCarthy. They tried to trade up for Drake May, didn't give enough. Well, it sounds like JJ McCarthy was not the top 5 basically options. They also tried to trade for Herbert at the time. But going back to Kevin O'Connell now as being the head coach, we saw a lot of different head coach changes this off-season, I guess we'll call it. And, to the time where we do see a lot of head coaching changes right now. 10, I believe.
Basically what they call it, isn't it called Black Monday?
Black Monday?
In the NFL?
Wow, that seems like, well, we're not going to go there, but... But so 10 changes happened, I believe it was. I believe you had a small little rundown of what you think maybe could, well, just let us know your thoughts on them.
Yeah, so without getting into everybody that's been fired, I mean, we all pretty much know that if you follow the NFL at all. But I'm going to quick rapid fire this. So the Cardinals signed Mike LaFleur, formerly from the Rams offensive coordinator. Las Vegas Raiders are projected to sign Clint Kubiak. I don't think it's an official done deal.
Can't be until their Seahawks season is over. Right.
Baltimore Ravens, Jesse Minter. Tennessee Titans, Robert Saleh. New York Giants, John Harbaugh. Falcons, Kevin Stefanski. Dolphins, Jeff Hafley. Buffalo Bills, Joe Brady. And Cleveland Browns, Todd Monken. And last but not least, Mike McCarthy with the Steelers. So here's what I think about that. I think Mike LaFleur, I think it could be good. But the Arizona Cardinals have a lot of stuff going on there, especially revolving around their quarterback position.
Yeah.
So basically, being a first-time quarterback, or first-time coach coming into this situation and having to deal with that problem right off the get-go, it could be good. I'm going to give him a C+. Las Vegas Raiders, I actually am kind of a fan of Clint Kubiak. My counterpart might not be as much of a favor of him, but I think they're guaranteed to get Mendoza as the number 1 pick overall. Gives them their franchise quarterback. They already have the franchise running back with Ashton Genty, right?
Yep.
And
Brock Bowers. They have Brock Bowers too. So you got their tight end set.
Yes, tight end. Yep.
You definitely could use a great receiver. The problem that I have with signing Kubiak is you are going against Kansas City, Denver, and the Chargers, all powerhouses, more or less.
Yeah, it's a tough division. It's very much like the NFC North.
It's a very tough division. And I feel like if you are going to make that move with a guy that's never been, to my own opinion, a great offensive coordinator, with these young bloods, maybe it does work out. I don't feel it gelling. I feel like they need someone with experience to deal with the powerhouses that they're already having in that division, with the young guns that they are going to have to get them into a vision. And then whoever's running their GM, I don't know if it's still, Mr. Davis or whoever's running it, but they need to get some receivers on that team. And we might get into in a second, but what's happening with the defense too. So there's a lot on the table for Kubiak, a lot of responsibility for him to deal with. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to handle all of that, but to your point,
Well, all right. Let me give you my counter argument. Clint Kubiak, obviously son of Gary Kubiak, who was a former coach in a couple different areas, along with offensive coordinator for many, many years. He's grew up into that type of mentality / mold. And on top of it, if you're looking for a coach that had a lot of stability, they had Pete Carroll. He's a Super Bowl winning coach, been around the block many a times. You should have got that stability this year out of him. And instead, especially getting, Geno Smith, who was his quarterback in Seattle, you'd have thought that he knew his strengths and weaknesses, and that between those two come with a game plan and having the number one running back out of the draft, that they should have been able to muster a little bit more than what they did this year. Just my thoughts.
I was never a fan of Geno going there. I don't know how many.
Sure.
When didn't Pete Carroll leave? They might have overlapped in 1 year with Geno Smith, but didn't he leave in the second year of Geno?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So they had 1 year of overlapping.
Sure.
Now, whoever decision it was to get the one guy first and the second guy second, I don't know. To me, it didn't gel well, and I don't even know if Pete Carroll was the guy. That might have not been the right hire as far as overdoing.
Actually, you might.
One.
Yeah, I might have to back up that statement, because now that you say it, it was the GM and the current coach of the Seahawks that traded Russell Wilson to Denver to essentially set up their organization right now.
Yeah.
So, and then at that point, that's when Geno Smith became the quarterback. So you're right. It was probably under.
But nonetheless, I mean, there still is some overlap, and I think the aspirations were. I mean, I don't think anyone thought they were going to be a playoff team, but better than the first overall pick. So something failed there in a lot of fashions. But I think if you wanted to compete with the big boys, I don't know if you just go for a rookie guy and hope it works. It could. I don't know if that would be my first choice, is all I'm saying.
Gotcha. So you're wishing that they would have went after McCarthy.
Yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, I could see it even, and I'm glad Brian Flores returned back to Minnesota, but I mean, that would make, to me, a little bit more sense there than a Kubiak.
Okay, I agreed. All right. So, I mean, I'm still in favor of Clint Kubiak. I think in this day and age, I think you need to have a coach that's a little bit more relatable to the talent on the field.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's part of another reason why I think he'll be all right. So we got Jesse Minter, the defensive coordinator from the Chargers, now the head coach over at the Ravens. He's got pretty big shoes to fill, right? Considering John Harbaugh was one of the longest tenured quarterback or coaches before being let go. But I think it should be pretty good. I think it sounds like, from what I hear, is in the NFL circles, he was very highly rated. A lot of people wanted him. So what can I say to argue that?
Yeah.
But, yeah. Now Robert Saleh going to Titans, I think that's a good move. I really do. I think he was I think he got kind of shafted when he was with the Jets, with Rodgers being quarterback, and how that all played out. I think he got thrown under the bus. I think he's a good coach. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm kind of impartial. I mean, you went from one bad franchise to another one that's struggling right now. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think Robert Saleh probably, I don't know if he didn't get selected or his interview options, but from the teams that were out there, I think he would have succeeded much better in like a Baltimore situation. I think him trying to start a new franchise isn't his strength. I think having support is a better thing for him going forward. So I don't know if Tennessee is the best option for him. If he was a Pittsburgh guy, if he was a Baltimore guy, maybe even Miami, where there had some hope of, they won some games at least, but I'm not sure that I agree putting him back into, in a weird way, another Jets situation. And to me, Tennessee is another Jets situation. You have a rookie quarterback. Your wide receivers are questionable. You don't really know what's happening with half your roster right now. You're rebuilding. You're rebuilding,
Well, totally.
and he hasn't proven himself to being a rebuilding type of coach.
The only counterpoint I'll say to that is most of these teams that get rid of their coach are they are already admitting defeat and that we're in rebuilding mode.
Yeah.
So I think with that said, but you're right. They have a lot of holes that they gotta fill.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think they got a pretty good quarterback, right? First year,
he's on his way.
Right?
He's on his way for sure. Yep.
They got big question mark at running back. I think they also, just like you said, I think they have questions at wide receiver. And I don't know in totality how their defense is, but that's his strong suit. So I think in that regard, they could be fairly good. I guess it remains to be seen, like, who are they going to bring in as their offensive coordinator?
Right.
Hopefully they are creative enough. Hopefully him and the GM are on the same page as far as the players that they really want to get. I don't know. I think it should be all right if they give him a chance, at least a better chance than what the Jets did. I felt like he got shafted.
What do you consider the best head coaching hire out of what happened, and your least favorite that came across?
That's a fantastic question. I would say the two best coaching vacancies this year were the Atlanta Falcons. So I think the Atlanta Falcons, I think their offense is pretty good. Now I know Pitts is a free agent. I don't know if he wants to re-sign with Atlanta, but I really think that they do have a lot of really good pieces in Atlanta, both on offense and defense. I think their defense is actually probably more of a gem than what their offense is.
Agreed. And it really comes down to their quarterback, because they do have some pieces there, but yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. The next one would be the Buffalo Bills, right? I think anytime you're going to have an MVP type quarterback as being your starting quarterback, you're going to be in a pretty solid position. I mean, and I think that even goes for the Baltimore Ravens, right?
Yeah, I was just about to say, yep.
Yeah. So I mean, I really think that though, okay, if I had to pick out of overall, I still think that maybe the Atlanta Falcons might be the best bet.
Okay.
I think they're probably the younger of, between Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills. I think the Atlanta Falcons are the younger team. I think they got more pieces, or I should say that I think as a team overall, I think they have a lot more upside. They get coached up right, they get the right schemes. I think that they really could be a freaking up and coming team,
Yeah.
especially with the division they're in.
Right. Yep.
Right?
100%.
They're in one of the weakest divisions of the league.
Yep. I agree with you. I was gonna mix two together because I thought this would actually be really cool. I think the best offseason hire was John Harbaugh. I don't know if that's just because of his, outstanding tenure with Baltimore, but I think he's a really good fit with what the Giants are looking to do. They have a good defense. They got a young quarterback. They have a young running back. They have a young wide receiver. They have opportunities. They got pieces in place. Like you said, it really comes down to what the front office is going to do. Now, take that aside, put John Harbaugh in Atlanta, just hypothetically. That might have even been a better hire with exactly what you were saying. I think that would have been even a better fit. But I am excited to see what John Harbaugh is going to do with the Giants because that division very well could crumble. We saw how Jalen Hurts has, I would say, regressed a little bit in that offense. Dallas has some issues. They still are Dallas. And Washington dealt with a lot of injuries, how they're going to overcome and get younger because they did sign a lot of, older veterans. So that division could be wide open next year.
So here's the thing. So the one thing I will say about Jalen and Philadelphia, not to scapegoat the offensive coordinator, but I felt like this year, because AJ Brown was making such a ruckus about making sure he gets his touches on the ball, right? He's got to be thrown to. I think really what got Philadelphia to the Super Bowl last year was the fact that they focused on running, and it wasn't only
Saquon.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't only Saquon Barkley, but it was also Jalen Hurts. He ran a lot more last year than what he did this year. This year, they tried to make him more of a pocket passer and run less. And that was after up until week 6 or 7 of this year, they were playing dominant football. But then that's when they started changing.
But they didn't.
They started changing their offense.
But even then, even through the first 7 weeks, we didn't see them utilize Saquon much. It was the Jalen Hurts show. However, they could make it happen. They didn't use. And last year, even though Jalen Hurts, I don't even know what the numbers were. I'm gonna guess. Hate me if I'm wrong, but 2,500 yards passing last year. It wasn't a lot. Very probably similar to what he had this year. But they had more of a balanced attack because they ran for 2,000 yards last year. So it was able to open up the passing, and then he would throw, a game for 300, and then the next game they'd run for 200 and whatever. This year they didn't focus on the run, or maybe the offensive coordinator was different. Whatever scheme changed didn't work out in their favor as far as getting the balanced attack and getting one open from the other.
I think we did a pretty good rundown of the Super Bowl and a little coaching carousel talk. What do you got to add? We wrapping this up?
Well, we really wanted to get to some where will players be in 2026, but we do have a couple of weeks for this before we get into it, and we could probably provide a little bit longer list to give you a full episode of that. So let's hang tight on that one, Gully. Let's wrap this one up. Thank you guys for watching. We really do appreciate it. I know we were out for a little while, and we do appreciate you guys coming back and saying hi to us. So make sure you hit that like, subscribe, follow button, and share all those little fun buttons for us. Please do so. And we'll see you in the next one, huh?
Yep. Take care, everyone.